I was on the outskirts of a little southern town, trying to reach my destination before the sun went down. The old CB was blaring away on Channel 19 when there came a little boy's voice on the radio line. And he said, "Breaker 19, is anyone there? Come on back, truckers, and talk to Teddy Bear." Well, I keyed the mic and I said, "You got it, Teddy Bear." And the little boy's voice came back on the air. "Appreciate the break. Who we got on that end?" I told him my handle, and then he began. "Now, I'm not supposed to bother you fellas out there. Mom says you're busy and for me to stay off the air. But you see, I get lonely and it helps to talk, 'cause that's about all I can do. I'm crippled and I can't walk." I came back and told him to fire up that mic, and I'd talk to him as long as he liked. "This was my dad's radio," the little boy said, "but I guess it's mine and Mom's now, 'cause my daddy's dead. Dad had a wreck about a month ago. He was trying to get home in the blinding snow. Mom has to work now to make ends meet, and I'm not much help with my 2 crippled feet. She says not to worry, that we'll make it all right, but I hear her crying sometimes late at night. You know, there's one thing I want more than anything else to see. Oh, I know you guys are too busy to bother with me, but you see, my dad used to take me for rides when he was home. But I guess that's all over now since my daddy's gone. Not one breaker came on the old CB as that little crippled boy talked with me. I tried hard to swallow a lump that just wouldn't stay down as I thought about my boy back in Greenville town. Dad was going to take Mom and me with him later on this year. Well, I remember him saying, "Someday this old truck will be yours, Teddy Bear." But I know I'll never get to ride an 18-wheeler again. But this old base will keep me in touch with all my trucker friends. Teddy Bear's going to back on out now and leave you alone, 'cause it's about time for Mom to come home. But you give me a shout when you're passing through, and I'll sure be happy to come back to you. Well, I came back and I said, "Before you go, 1010, what's your home 20, little CB friend?" Well, he gave me his address, and I didn't once hesitate, 'cause this hot load of freight is just going to have to wait. I turned that truck around on a dime and headed straight for Jackson Street, 229. And as I rounded the corner, oh, I got one heck of a shock. 18-wheelers were lined up for 3 city blocks. Well, I guess every driver for miles around had caught Teddy Bear's call. And that little crippled boy was having a ball. For as fast as one driver would carry him in, another would carry him to his truck and take off again. Well, you better believe I took my turn at riding Teddy Bear. And then I carried him back in and put him down in his chair. And buddy, if I never live to see happiness again, I want you to know I saw it that day in the face of that little man. We took up a collection for him before his mama got home, and each driver said goodbye, and then they were all gone. He shook my hand with a mile-long grin and said, "So long, trucker, I'll catch you again." Well, I hit that interstate with tears in my eyes. And I turned on the radio and I got another surprise. Breaker 19 came a voice on the air. "Just one word of thanks from Mama Teddy Bear. We wish each and every one a special prayer for you, 'cause you just made my little boy's dream come true." I'll sign off now before I start to cry. May God ride with you. 10-4, and goodbye.
Little Rosa, why Still I cry in vain. My world won't be the same since she's gone from me.
I had gone to visit the grave of a friend of mine, and as I walked through the graveyard, I noticed this man kneeling down by the grave of a child, and in his hand he held a big red rose, and tears were streaming down his cheeks. So I walked over and laid a hand on his shoulder and started to talk to him. And during the course of our conversation, and in his broken English, this is the story just as he told it to me. He said, "Mister, I'm a-walking down the street today, and I pass by a big flower shop. I walk in and I ask the man in the shop, I say, 'Boss, how much you for one the red rose?' And he looked at me with one big frown, and he says, 'I want $1, please.' But in the by, a swell-dressed blonde young lady walk in, and she says, 'How much you for one the red rose?' And he looked at her with one big smile, and he says, 10 cents. And I said, 'Boss, how come you charging me $1 for the rose? You charge the young lady only 10 cents. And he says, 'Look, mister, you telling me why you want the rose, and maybe I'll give it to you for naught.' And I said, 'Boss, I'm a hard-working man. Working the railroad and don't make it too much money. And I got a little girl, and her name is Rosa. Oh, Rosa's just about this high, boss. Every day when I come home from work, little Rosa come running to me to Papa. And she'd throw her little arms around my neck and say, 'Papa.' And I'd say, 'Rosa.' Oh, but one day, boss, I come home from work and I don't see Rosa. I look her down by the railroad track and I see one of the bigger crowd. I go down and I push the crowd this way and I push the crowd that way, and there was at my feet lay my little Rosa. And that's why I want the Rosa, boss. I want to put him on little Rosa's grave. The man, he don't say nothing, but he picked up the biggest and the reddest rose, and he give it to me. And I said, 'Thank you, boss. Thank you very much.'" And though she's gone, you see, she's still the world to me. To me, she'll always be that little girl of mine. You're losing interest in me, and it's showing. It ain't no big thing, but it's growing. The pain of heartbreak I just started knowing. It ain't no big thing, but it's growing. Every day the hurt grows bigger than it did before. But I'll pretend that I don't notice if I can hold you one day more. You got the look of someone who is going Are you gonna leave me? And it's showing a little tear I can feel start to flowing. It ain't no big thing, oh, but it's growing. You got the look of someone who is going. Are you gonna leave me? And it's showing a little tear I can feel start to flowing. It ain't no big thing, oh, but it's growing. It ain't no big thing, oh, but it's growing. When I've done everything that you asked me to do, and when I've changed every way that I can, then if that's not enough to satisfy you, then I guess I'm not that much a man. When I've gone the last mile of the way, and when I've said everything left to say, I know only sorrow awaits me. When I've gone the last mile of the way. There are some things in life that money can't buy, and there's some things that words cannot say. I guess I always knew I couldn't satisfy you if I went every mile of the way. When I've gone the last mile of the way, and when I've said everything left to say, I know only sorrow awaits me. When I've gone the last mile of the way. Yes, I've gone the last mile of the way. Born just south of Knoxville to a family both humble and poor. Never asked for anything at the early age of 10. Delivered newspapers door to door. Then when he was in his teens, he dreamed and schemed for finer things, and he finally figured out what he would do. To be a big-time businessman, he went and hired old Hogan Stand and started hauling Chattanooga booze. Soon his pockets filled with money and his fingers sported flashy diamond rings. He had all he he'd ever wanted when they labeled him the Bootlegger King. He always trusted Stan and hoped to do exactly as we're told. They were hard to drive and not to think. A smooth-talking businessman, and he convinced old Hogan Stan that booze was made to sell and not to drink. That old Spring City ferry never knew what all it carried, but they knew when she unloaded by the banks. Two rusty rigs roared out of there, raking, scraping, jamming gears, disguised to look like gasoline tanks. He knew the ways to operate, running Highway 58, right on into Kingston, Tennessee. To make the sheriff turn his back, he paid that old green folding jack and swapped the load at Junction Dixie Lee. That Bootlegger King's fingers flashed with diamond rings, and the lawmen never knew quite where to wait. But they knew it for the truth, for a load of 100 proof. He would flash his old pearl handle 38. Then one day he met a girl, the sweetest thing in all the world. He knew the time had come to change his life, but it kinda hurt to go to church to find the ones that got there first was the same crooks he dealt with just last night. The only thing that they believed is honor among the thieves, and he found a lot of partners on the scene. The choir's mouths were open wide, and that old deacon's bloodshot eyes was focused on that Bootlegger King. He sat there on the mourner's bench, that newborn baby made him think. He knew he had a lot he must confess. He knew enough to write a book with every name of every cook, so he exposed the whole rotten mess. And now he's got his conscience clear, he still don't know the name of fear, though true friends are few and far between. He ain't proud of what he had to do, he's heard the words that's sad but true. They're out to get that Bootlegger King. That Bootlegger King's fingers flashed with diamond rings, and the lawmen never knew quite where to wait. But they knew it for the truth, for a load of 100 proof. He would flash his old pearl handle 38. And that's the ballad of the Bootlegger King.
Today, I've been counting the many blessings in the family my dad raised. All the love we shared through the years has come back to me in many ways. And today, my mind flashed back to my childhood days. I recall my first day of school and how much it hurt my dad to see me start off in patched up blue jeans. But Dad, today that's the style. My boy won't go anywhere without his patched up jeans. They're old and faded, and they look like they've never been cleaned. And I remember Sunday school and how I'd get mad when you'd make me go. But now I can see why that was so important to you, because we prayed together and we stayed together. Now, my dad was a man that knew his own mind, and I remember when he'd call us all together and he'd say, "Family, it's loving time." His world was built around Mom and the 4 kids they raised, and I can still see the smile that always came on Mama's face each time Dad would say the table grace. The house was filled with lots of noise, but when we got too loud, Dad would always say, "Oh, those devilish boys." There was 3 of us. The 4th was a girl. Well, you know Dad had a choice. A favorite, that is. But he'd say, "I love one just as much as I love the other." Oh, would you look at her? She looks just like her mother. I've heard a lot of other people talk about my dad and talk about the things that he'd done when he was young. Because I might be a little bit prejudiced, but he was the best in the county when it came to a contest and games. Because he could outrun, outbox, outshoot any of the professionals that came to town. Now, my dad was a good man, and his family came first, and he did his best for us. And I know sometimes he worked till it hurt. The Depression wasn't an easy time. $1 a day was the pay back then. And I remember my dad leaving the house before daybreak and walking 14 miles to get to work without being late. Oh, I guess everyone remembers the good times and the bad. Good times were happy, bad times were sad. And when I do something wrong, he'd straighten me out with his hand or a belt out behind the house. But now, Mama didn't raise her voice or fuss when we get out of hand. She'd just say, "Now that's enough." And if we didn't obey, she'd tell Dad what was wrong, and without a question, Dad would lay it on. While we picked cotton, chopped cotton, stacked hay, pulled corn, well, that's the way we made our living back then on the farm. But things are different now, because it's like a new world we're living in. Everything's a mad rush, not enough time for friends. And when I think of my dad, it makes me proud, you see, because he gave so much of himself to make life easier for me. Now, not everyone is lucky as I am to have a father who wanted the best for me out of life. And now when I hear a church bell chime, it's almost like my dad saying, "Family, it's loving time." So why don't you go to your dad right now and tell him you love him? And I'll bet you $1 against a dog biscuit that it will mean more to him than any gift that money could ever buy. Because, you know, you can't ever repay him for all the things he's done for you. And the best way I know to let him know is just say, "Daddy, I love you."
Love is blue skies and white clouds touching the valleys of green. And love is walking in the sunshine in my oldest faded jeans. Love is a big-footed puppy running carefree by our side. And love is love I have for you, hon, that I just can't seem to hide. Don't want no fancy clothes and don't need no party wine. I've got your sweet, sweet love, and you got all of mine. Love is morning after memories of the night we had before. And love is warm and tender feelings, 'cause I love you more and more. Don't want no fancy clothes and don't need no party wine. Oh, I've got your sweet, sweet love, and you got all of mine. Love is morning after memories of the night we had before. And love is warm and tender feelings, 'cause I love you more and more. Yes, love is morning after memories of the night we had before. And love is warm and tender feelings, 'cause I love you more and more. I was waiting for a ship to Vietnam, and me being the good time loving guy I am,
I was looking for some female company. I met a girl alone and lonesome just like me. We had coffee at a waterfront cafe. She said her husband was a soldier far away, and she talked about her long nights all alone, and the way she's fought temptation since he's gone. 1460 Elder Street is where she took me, and I never knew that love could be so sweet. Then she promised me that when the war was over, I'd have a home at 1460 Elder Street. 2 months later, I was on patrol one day when a hand grenade fell not 10 feet away. I watched as one brave man gave all that he could give. He fell across it, gave his life that I might live. I found a crumpled, tear-stained letter in his coat, and I read the dear John letter his wife wrote. He had nothing left worth living for, I guess. Oh, I thought I'd die when I saw her return address. 1460 Elder Street still drives me crazy, and sometimes at night we find it hard to sleep. Could it be the ones who killed him now are sharing our private hell at 1460 Elder Street? In our neighborhood, the kids had been out playing. Little Johnny's clothes were torn when he came home. I overheard these words he kept saying: they'd better leave my daddy alone. She kissed away the tears to console him as I fought to hide my own. I held back, and the more he cried, the closer she would hold him, and I broke down with these questions that he asked. Does stepping out mean daddy went out walking? Does cheating mean my daddy don't play right? Does gossip mean they're lying while they're talking? Does two-timing mean that daddy stepped out twice? Mama, don't my daddy stay out late 'cause he's working? I can't understand this kind of talk. Does ladies' man mean daddy's a sissy? Mom, don't stepping out mean daddy took a walk. Does stepping out mean daddy went out walking? I just can't understand this kind of talk. Don't my daddy stay out late 'cause he's working? Mom, don't stepping out mean daddy took a walk. raindrops on my steering wheel. This lonely truck's the only thing I own. In my heart I'm pining while her old engine's whining, with 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home. I had a gal in Texas, she walked away and left us. This old truck's all I'm depending on. Sometimes I overwork her, but I never would desert her. With 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home. We've got a lot in common, we keep each other going. Me and this old truck are hanging on. We just keep right on rolling, that lonesome stack a-blowing, with 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home. Model, and it can't take much throttle. Them shiny rigs ain't been where this one's gone. And we ain't in a hurry, we loaf along and worry, with 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home. There's raindrops on my windshield and teardrops on my steering wheel. This lonely truck's the only thing I own. And in my heart I'm pining while her old engine's whining, with 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home. With 18 wheels a-humming, home sweet home.
Tonight I'm back at our old table in our favorite hideaway, where we used to laugh and dance and hear those happy fiddles play. But the love that she once had for me couldn't stand the test of time. Now the fiddles, once so happy, seem to know that she's not mine. I hear those sad violins playing softly just for me, and their crying strings just fit the mood I'm in. I don't hear the happy fiddles that used to play for her and me. Now all I hear is sad violins. The soft warm wine, once sweet and gentle, now has such a bitter taste. And I never thought this corner could be such a lonely place. The spotlight on the band just turned a lonely shade of blue,
as they start to play our favorite song in memory of you. I hear those sad violins playing softly just for me, and their crying strings just fit the mood I'm in. I don't hear the happy fiddles that used to play for her and me. Now all I hear is sad violins. Now all I hear is sad violins.